Let's talk about the Lark Max. No, Lark, with an L. Today you have quite a bit of options if you want to use a small mic for interviews or solo recording, but Hollyland just released their Lark Max and I think it's a piece of gear worth talking about because it brings quite a bit to the table. I'd love to know what mic you're currently using, so please tell me in the comments below. And it also helps the algorithm. The Lark Max is kind of an evolution from the Lark 150, so it carries many of its features, but it also has some nice upgrades. The Lark Max is a 2-channel receiver. You can run 2 microphones in parallel and record 2 people in the same time, say an interviewer and an interviewee. And there is quite a bit of control on how you can do that.
Wow, that's amazing.
But first, let's dive right into the receiver unit. The receiver unit has a clip that can go on the belt, but it just happened to be the size of a hot shoe flash, so you can mount it directly into the camera and plug it in, like so. The Lark Max is not the smallest unit in the market. I mean, the GoPro is smaller, for example, but considering the incredible amount of control you get, this is a welcome trade-off. You can access pretty much any function from the LCD here and completely control the microphone transmitters, including gain, mute, recording behavior, noise cancellation, which I'll talk about later, and much more. For controls, you have a push dial and a touch button, which usually operates as a back button. And I'll be honest, I started playing with the unit even before I read the manual, and the menus are super intuitive. It takes a little bit of getting used to a single dial versus a dial per channel, but mostly it is very comfortable.
Yes, we are very comfortable up here.
On the other hand, the user interface has been redesigned from the 150, and you can see everything that matters in a single glimpse. That includes battery, modes, levels, ENC status, if a transmitter is recording, and a bunch more. There is a headphones jack that gives you the option to monitor your audio directly before it goes into your camera or your phone. This is quite useful for debugging audio and also setting the right levels and gain on both your camera and the mic. I'm going to leave a link up here and in the description on why a headphone port is so useful. The transmitters are about matchbox size and they look a bit different from the standard mics out there. Instead of a mic on the top, they have a nice mesh that protects the capsule. This makes them much easier to handle and you don't need to worry about accidentally touching the delicate parts of the microphone.
Don't touch it, or I'll stick another one right in your cheek.
Also, putting the dead cat on this is so much easier than other mics. Actually, the entire build feels very solid and can probably take some minor abuse. I think that Hollyland really wanted to make this set comfortable for the solo operator, so you get a nice amount of control from the transmitters as well. You can mute, start noise suppression, and control the recording right from the transmitter. You can either use the built-in mic or connect a lavalier with a 3.5 jack on the side of the unit. And like many of those microphones, you can either clip it or use a small magnet, or you can clip it to your belt if you use the lav mic. Once you're all set up, you can start recording, and depending on what you do, you may opt for one of 3 options. In mono mode, all the audio comes in as a single stream to both channels. This is the most basic mode and it's good for solo speakers or voiceovers. In stereo, every mic gets its own channel. This way you can easily split them up in post and process them separately. The last mode is called safety channel, and this mode is very similar to mono, only the second channel records in a different gain. And you can choose to record at a lower gain to recover any clipped sounds, or up the gain if you like. This is the first time I'm seeing gain control on the safety channel, and just like the other settings, you can control it directly from the receiver. If we're touching on safety here, then the Lark Max has another critical safety feature. Each of the microphones also record the audio internally, so even if the signal is lost for some reason, you still have your audio file. To get it out, just connect the receiver into your laptop, and it's an 8 gigs flash drive with all your recordings. That's about 14 hours of audio, and you can set the unit to start recording as soon as it turns on, so you always get that safety net. Before going into the audio part, I want to talk about runtime. One of the biggest complaints about the Lark 150 was the short battery life. And this is critical because the battery is internal and you cannot swap it out. Once it's done, you're done for the day. The Lark Max almost doubled the runtime over the 150. It runs for 7.5 hours, which should be enough for one day of work, especially if you turn the unit on and off between shoots. But the case also is a charger, so you can top off the entire set twice. It takes about 2 hours to top it off, and that means that going fully charged, you should be good for about 3 days. That case goes inside another softshell case that also holds 2 dead cats, a charging cable, and 3 cables for an Android, an iPhone, and a camera. But there is another magic to the case. The transmitter and receivers know when they're in the case, and they immediately auto-pair when you open it. So once you're on set, by the time you handed the mic to your talent, it is already paired to the right receiver. Now, let's talk a bit about audio. Audio is always a personal preference, but I like the way that the Lark sounds. It has a nice crisp and full feel to it. Here are some tests for your listening pleasure. Hi, this is me recording directly into the Lark Max and playing with my toy truck. And here are some tests outside with and without a dead cat. So we're just outside the studio and we're using the Lark Max, and I'm going to record this 3 times. So the first time I'm just going to use the Lark Max as it is, and it's kind of windy, so I'm going to try putting on this little dead cat here. I know it looks funny, but kind of see if you can hear less of the wind going on. So you should be getting significantly less wind noise like this. The third thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the ENC environment noise cancelling, and let's see what it does as this car comes by. So I'm going to talk a little bit as the car comes by, and we'll see if it makes any difference at all.
Yes, it does.
One interesting feature that Hollyland added is ENC, which stands for Environmental Noise Cancelling. Ideally, this is a simple feature that can reduce ambient sound while keeping your voice very crisp. Here are some tests. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hollyland boasts a 250 meters line of sight range, but we ran out of space after about 60 meters. And we're gonna do a range check. This is also when we had to face the camera to get our audio running, and this is exactly why you want that internal recording that I was talking about before. Okay, so that's about here. Just before wrapping up here, there are 2 small things that I would like to see on the Lark Max V2, or maybe just a small iteration. Nothing big, just make my life a little bit easier.
It's a small thing, perhaps, all things considered.
The biggest thing is that you cannot turn off the transmitter status LED. It shares important information like pairing status, power, and if ENC is on. You can set this LED to high or low from the receiver, but there is no way to turn it off. I'm also using 2 lav mics with the kit, which you have to purchase separately, and I wish there was some space inside the soft shell for lavalier mics. But all in all, those are small things, and maybe I'm just nitpicking here. The Lark Max sells for $299 for the Duo or $199 for the Solo, and it is definitely setting a high bar for the competition. If there's anything you want to learn or want to know, just hit me down in the comments below. I'm Uri Tirosh from DIYPhotography.net. I hope you found what you were looking for today. Hit the like button, the share button. You know what? Actually, I'm just gonna stand here and you can hit all the buttons all around, and I'll be seeing you in the next video.